Welcome, and thanks for joining another episode of Start the Week with Wisdom. I'm your host, Bridget Burns with the University Innovation Alliance.
And I'm Sara Custer from Inside Higher Ed.
Each week, we bring you a short, uplifting conversation with a college president or chancellor who we think is leading in the field and you should be listening to. Our hope is to give you some inspiration, some perspective, and a little bit, just a dash of wisdom to start your week out. That's why we call it Start the Week with Wisdom.
This show, Weekly Wisdom, is sponsored by Mainstay, the student engagement and retention platform proven to work through peer-reviewed research. Check out the research and learn more at mainstay.com. The show is also broadcast on the Innovating Together podcast, which is sponsored by the Carnegie Corporation of New York. And today we are welcoming Portland State University President Ann Cudd to the show. She leads Oregon's Public Urban Research University. She's a distinguished philosopher and a seasoned leader in higher education. Welcome, Ann.
Hello, Sara and Bridget. What a pleasure to be here with two women I so admire.
We're so excited to have you on. This has been a long time coming. So I was at your first announcement becoming president at Portland State, but you and I have known each other for a long time. You were a liaison with the UIA back at the University of Kansas. You went on to be the provost at Pitt. You've been you've just continued to add more value and contribute throughout the higher ed landscape. And it's been so nice to see you at APLU meetings occasionally, but I'm so excited to finally have you here in Portland and get a chance to hear from you about what it's been like to become a president in this very unique time, and particularly the kinds of leadership lessons that have helped you along the way.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
So the first thing we wanted to ask you was actually to pull it back a bit. We would love to have a conversation that is first grounded in the ways that higher education set you up to do the job that you do today. I'm curious if there was an experience in your undergraduate career that most prepared you for success in your career?
Yeah, well, my career, of course, is in academia. I've been a philosophy professor and a dean and a provost and now a president. So I've got a particularly nerdy story to tell you, I guess. So when I was an undergraduate, I read this incredible article called Empiricism and the Philosophy of Mind by Wilfrid Sellars. And I was reading this article and I couldn't make heads or tail of it. But I knew it was really, really deep. So I looked and I said, where is this Wilfrid Sellars? Well, he's at the University of Pittsburgh. And so I knew I had to apply to the University of Pittsburgh. And I was fortunate to get into their graduate program in philosophy. And that opened a lot of doors for me. And I also got to learn a lot about that article, because as it turned out, that article was really central to the work they do in the philosophy department at the University of Pittsburgh. In fact, they call it the Pittsburgh School largely because of this work, this professor, and the many, many other professors or philosophers who've come from that program who were shaped by this article. So the article, the core idea is called The Myth of the Given. And the myth of the given is about empiricism, which is the view that all of our knowledge comes from sensory experience or perceptual experience, right? And that it's sort of given to us through our senses from the world around us. But what Sellars argued is there's just as much taking as there is giving, in that we always apply a theory to whatever it is we're perceiving. So empiricism, pure foundational empiricism, can't really be true. It must be a myth.
Wow.
And this is what sets you off on this path.
Yeah, that set me off on the path. And the thing is about, graduate school is if you're lucky, you get mentors who are incredible and who really set you up for success. And I was so lucky. And so that really set me up. My assistant professor position at Kansas, and then I was off to the races, basically.
That's phenomenal. And I think that's really just speaks to the luck that comes to a lot of success, but then also And if you hadn't seen that article, sure, maybe that's a luck element, but then you knew to seek out that person and to have the ambition to go and try to work with them. So I think it's a combination of luck and then also knowing how to navigate those pathways.
Right. It wasn't all just given. There was taking too.
Love it. Very well done. Well done. The next question we have for you is to talk about the first moment when you felt that college had really been worth it. And that's obviously a big conversation that's happening nationally. What's the point of a college degree? Is college worth it? Really curious to know when that penny dropped for you that it was worth it.
Yeah. So, I think I really wanted to go away to college when I was, because I grew up in a rural environment and I really just wanted to get away from where I was living. And I knew there was a big world out there. Wasn't sure what it was full of, but I wanted to go explore. And so I think when I first noticed that was really paying off was I was freshman year or first year. I was having lunch with somebody I'd just become friends with. She was in my math class. And so we were having lunch and she invited me to come to her home in New Jersey to have a Passover Seder with her family. And I grew up in a very narrow environment. And I said, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you were Jewish." And she looked at me and she said, "Look, my name is Nancy Grossman." I hope she doesn't mind I use her name. "I'm from New Jersey. My hair looks like this. My nose looks like this. And you don't know I'm Jewish?" And I went, "Oh, okay." So that was one of those first experiences and there were many of them my first year, where I was learning through kind of an embarrassing situation that, oh my goodness, people are very diverse. I've got lots of different perspectives and I'm going to have a lot of new experiences. And I mean, that was what I really came for, was that kind of diversity of experience, of perception, of friendships. And so I really appreciated her kind of joking with me like that.
It's very relatable for how like everyone has that experience where they put their foot in their mouth or you're right. Actually, those moments are initially embarrassing, but they are a teaching moment for you to recognize, especially when you stop having them, when you start realizing where the growth is, because sometimes the growth is just not doing the thing that you once did.
Right.
So that is, that's a great story. And I hope she's okay with you. Yeah, we'll make sure.
Yeah. Her name, that's not her name anymore. So, it was a wonderful experience to go to the Passover Seder as well. It was the first time I'd been to one of those.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, you're in a really, I would say the college presidency is the most difficult job in the world. And in this moment in time, it's the hardest it's ever been, 10x. I bet you have to make hard decisions most days and you don't get easy decisions ever. I'm sure that you have to operate as a leader in every room that you're in. I'm just curious, was there a model for what leadership looked like, or some experience that taught you how to lead? Because I think everyone has a way of leading, and I'm curious what your way of leading is, but where'd you learn that?
Yeah. Well, I will mention the University Innovation Alliance on this one, because there are two leaders in that who had a particular effect, I'd say, on me, who've been mentors. One is Kim Wilcox. He just stepped down as the chancellor of UC Riverside, but he was at the University of Kansas when I was first starting in my administrative career. So I was the director of what was then called Women's Studies. It's now Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. But I was the director of that program when he was a dean. And so I got to see him up close and get to know him a bit. And what I take from Kim is, he's really empathic. He's really humorous. Of course, he's got a famous laugh that everyone knows. And I just so appreciated the way that he would listen so carefully, make decisions. I remember one time sitting on a committee that he had formed, and we thought we had a great idea for a certain proposal that would have needed to go to the provost. And then, he heard a really profound criticism of the idea, and he pivoted. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's really worth modeling, pivoting when that's important. And then, of course, the other person is Michael Crow, who's just amazing as a transformative leader. And what I, have watched him do over the years is make really bold decisions that are innovative and transformative. And I've noticed how, there are many skeptics who push back and so forth, but he really believes in his vision, and his leadership style is such that he pushes through and doesn't let the naysayers keep him from doing what he knows has to be done or needs to be done. And I just admire that a lot.
I think those are good mentors to have, especially in a time like this where you need to see, like, how do you navigate when things are constantly rocky. But also Kim's laugh is iconic, and someone needs to record it and put it on a phone ring, because I would totally love that when I get a call that I hear the Kim Wilcox. I don't know, it's not a guffaw, it's not a cackle. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be a word for it. It's so iconic.
Yeah.
I first encountered that laugh on Weekly Wisdom, Bridget. So we do have a recording of it somewhere. So if push comes to shove, we can just slice it from a past podcast episode. But yeah, and I really liked your examples as well. And I think what came out from that for me was empathy and just kind of courage of your convictions, which Michael Crow has got in spades, certainly. But empathy is a nice pairing to that, I think. Another question we had for you was just unexpected lessons that you may have encountered or learned over the years as you've climbed the ladder through various administrative positions in higher education.
Yeah, well, Bridget alluded to the fact that this has been quite a tumultuous time. And certainly there was the COVID pivot that was tumultuous, but even more so was last year's protests and all that went on. And certainly Portland State was battered about by that. And I never expected what we had. I think the last time we had protests that were so disruptive and so intense was the Vietnam War era. And I actually remember I was living in Ohio as a kid, as a grade schooler, when Kent State happened. And, so that is the time that I sort of hearkened back to when I thought about what was going on a year ago, or a little over a year ago on campuses. And I think that, what I've tried to take from that is that, free speech and the right to protest are incredibly important to support, but supporting them also means putting some guardrails around it so that it doesn't cause really unnecessary or really unjustifiable harm to many of the other students and denizens of the campus community. And I don't think we did that very well at the beginning or through the year, but I think that the ways that we've tried to do to put those guardrails up together through various, various time, place, and manner restrictions and things, being clear with our students, clear with student leadership about what is appropriate and what isn't. That we've done a much better job this past year of taking care of that. I think that's true nationally, and it's certainly true on the Portland State campus.
Well, and you were not very far into your presidency when all that happens. Like, I just think more beyond the topic, I have never met a college president who comes in and knows exactly what the job is. Mm-hmm. You have an idea. You have seen some. Mm-hmm. But you have actually no idea, and nothing prepares you to only interact with people who want something from you or work for you. Right. And it's really hard to keep your vision clear and your peripheral vision, balanced when everyone around you wants you to like them and wants to, show you their thing. And then in the midst of that, to have a crisis and have to try and make a difficult decision that would, no matter what decision, it would be unpopular. Like,
Right.
it's just, I don't even think, I think more about how when presidents come in, it takes you a while to figure out how you're going to make hard choices and decisions and who's going to be in your actual cabinet, who are you going to actually trust. And it was still in that early period for you. That was just like, felt very, that felt very unfair. And to like have such a difficult moment when you're just still figuring out how to president, right? Like, because I feel like there needs to be a how to president course.
Yeah, no, I know. And, I did think back to my chancellor at the University of Pittsburgh when I was the provost there, and Patrick Gallagher. And one of the things that he said, which I thought was a little bit surprising, that I don't know why, and I now don't think it's surprising, but he said, number one job is to keep the campus safe, to keep people on this campus safe. And I thought, Now, he had worked for NIST, and he had, during a time when there was a nuclear contamination in Boulder, and he had to be the one to go in and examine and investigate and so forth. And so he really had a very literal sense of safety, right? Physical, literal sense of safety. And I knew that, and I didn't really think about that too much until we had the occupation of our library on our campus, and all of the things that went along with that.
Yeah. Resiliency was a word that I was thinking of. And I mean, this was career-ending situations for several presidents. So the fact that you managed to hang on and you're still here with us, Ann, after getting through that in your first year, I think speaks volumes to your leadership style and your resiliency as a leader, as you are still navigating how to president.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
I'll shift to a positive question then associated with that is like, when you're doing that, I want to understand how you keep resilient. And I'm guessing that you have parts of your job that you really love that are a great reminder of your purpose or bring you the greatest joy. We just had graduation. I mean, I wish we could have graduation like every month or so right now for like the mental health and morale of our sector. It'd be just like monthly graduation would be great. But what is for you? How do you kind of keep your sense of purpose and what are you most proud of, I think, in associated with this role?
Well, on that, this morning I had orientation, which is second to graduation, as one of the happiest and most fun things to be doing. So to get up there and to welcome people to orientation, new students, that and their families, and to see the hope and the optimism and also anxiety in their eyes, and to be able to assure the families that yes, your students belong here, and to assure them that they belong. So that's really great. But I would say when it comes to resilience and purpose, I think about how grateful I am for the many gifts that I've been given, from higher education, from my mentors, whether it was in graduate school or the leaders who've been my mentors, to Portland. The city of Portland has given me many gifts. And I just think how fortunate I am and how privileged I am. And my purpose, my sense of purpose is I want everyone to feel that sense of they belong here, that they can do things, that they're able to exercise agency and to achieve at least some of their dreams. And I'm convinced that higher education can do that for individuals and as well as for society. I think it's really a noble purpose and a noble mission.
I agree.
When people talk about finding jobs, and especially ascending to a job like a college presidency, they use the word fit a lot, finding the right fit in an institution that reflects your values and aligns with your values, but making sure that the institution's values align with yours and yours align with theirs. So that's my question is how does Portland State's values align with your personal values as a leader?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I decided to apply for the job at Portland State. One, after a conversation with Bridget Burns about Portland State, because she lives here in Portland and I knew she would know a lot about it. But two, I saw the ad for Portland State in Inside Higher Ed. The headhunters didn't come looking for me for this job. And maybe some people would say, oh, that's kind of a different career, trajectory. You've been at these R1s, these AAU institutions, even, elite institutions like Boston University and the University of Pittsburgh. Portland State's urban regional university. Why? And what attracted me so much is the accessibility and social mobility mission of Portland State, and the fact that they have this motto: "Let knowledge serve the city." And I really believe that that knowledge can serve the city, can serve individuals, but that we have not done a great job in terms of making sure that not only is higher education accessible, but that students from all across different income ranges can also be successful and can achieve their dreams. And so I thought Portland State is the kind of institution where I could at scale make a difference in this area, in the area of social mobility. I'm a social and political philosopher, and my work has been on inequality and oppression. And I've looked at, from that lens of a political philosopher, a social philosopher, at how higher education is, in many ways, many times, sort of failing to decrease the gaps within society, and instead increasing them in a knowledge economy where only the privileged get the most privileged education. And so I really felt that it was that Portland State was an opportunity to make a difference, to help an institution that is really trying to close that gap and make dreams come true across the entire income spectrum.
Great. I think you're a perfect fit for Portland State. I hope you don't regret my my advice at that time.
Not for a minute. I love it here.
Portland State to me is scrappy and tenacious, and you are scrappy and tenacious, and you are a perfect fit. There's no way that Portland's going to turn things around if it isn't as a direct result of Portland State. And I'm cheering you on personally for a lot of reasons. But I'm just so grateful that we got a chance to talk with you today and share a little bit more about you. It's been such a joy to watch you move throughout your career and see the impact that you're having. And I can't wait to see what you continue to do. So it's been just a privilege and honor, and we're grateful to have you connect with our audience. So thanks so much for being here today. And for Sara, thanks for being world's greatest co-host.
Hey, back at you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bridget and Sara. It was great to connect with you today.
Thanks, Ann.
All right, see ya.